What's going on, everybody? I am back from a mini hiatus. We've been on the road, but we are back home in the studio talking about the Minnesota Vikings QB room specifically today. So obviously, Kyler Murray has signed as a quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings. He is the presumed starter. We'll talk about that in a minute. They still have JJ McCarthy. And as of recently, in the past week, they re-signed Carson Wentz to what looks to be about a $3 million deal for 1 year. Now, I've seen people overreact completely to this news saying, is this the end for JJ McCarthy? Why would they bring Carson Wentz back? Oh my God, they're going to trade McCarthy. And I'm so tired of this narrative that JJ McCarthy is a done thing. Like, it really baffles me. I don't know if it's the 9 thing and people just really couldn't stand that for whatever reason, or what it is about this JJ McCarthy narrative that I needed to put some stats to it to prove to you guys that this atrocity of a quarterback that people keep talking about with JJ McCarthy is just not factual, okay? The guy essentially last year had his rookie season. He missed his whole real rookie season with a knee injury, got hurt in preseason, didn't take one regular season snap whatsoever, and took a couple snaps in a preseason game, and that was his first preseason game, and he got hurt. So essentially his rookie year is a wash. Last year is what you would actually call his rookie year, essentially, because that was his first experience playing real NFL football, live bullets, everything. And he struggled out the gate, and people acted like this was, a referendum on his whole career, like as if rookie quarterbacks haven't ever struggled coming out of the gate. And for people to suggest that Carson Wentz coming back is suddenly now pushing JJ McCarthy to QB3, and meaning that the Vikings are going to move on from a kid that they believed in enough to draft them top 10 2 years ago, that after only 10 NFL starts, they're going to trade him and get rid of him, is baffling to me. It just makes no sense. And when they trade him and I see it happen this offseason, I'll come on here and say I was wrong. But it makes no sense whatsoever. Here's some numbers, especially, look, I understand that Kyler Murray coming in more than likely will be the starter. Absolutely. I get that argument. I'm behind that argument. He has years of experience. He's proven to be a good quarterback, that he could run an offense. Obviously, with Kevin O'Connell, it seems like they might have a good relationship, and he's got weapons now. So there's every reason to believe that Kyler Murray will be the starter. I don't doubt that. I'm not fighting that argument. I get it. If McCarthy's going to be a starter, he's going to have to beat out Kyler Murray. Completely understand that narrative. I get it. But to suggest that Carson Wentz signing is now meaning that the Vikings have given up on McCarthy and he's QB3 and they should trade him, or they're going to trade him, that's why they brought back Carson Wentz. Like, that's ridiculous. First of all, if you watched every Viking game and every Viking snap like I did last year, you did not come away thinking, damn, Carson Wentz is playing some great football. No, there weren't great moments like that with Carson Wentz, okay? I specifically remember watching some games where he was pretty damn bad too, okay? Just like JJ McCarthy, all right? They had their moments. The difference is Carson Wentz is a veteran quarterback that's been in the league 10 plus years. So he's a finished product. If anything, you could argue that his trajectory is going downward this way. Like it's like going down. Like he's getting older. Injuries are adding up. He's peaked. Now, the opposite is true with JJ McCarthy. This guy should, and logically you think, is ascending, right? I mean, he's 23 years old. He's only had 10 NFL starts. Like, everything about this kid tells you, all right, he hasn't peaked yet. That doesn't mean when he peaks, he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but it also means that he hasn't peaked yet. That's literally it. So I wanted to run some numbers, okay? Carson Wentz got 5 starts for the Minnesota Vikings last year, all right? In those 5 NFL starts that Carson Wentz had for the Vikings, okay, that's super powerful offense, he had a completion percentage of 65.1%. 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He took 19 sacks. Yes, you heard that correctly. 19 sacks. And he rushed for 57 yards, no touchdowns. Okay? That's Carson Wentz for 5 NFL starts. This is the guy that everyone is rushing to say is pushing JJ McCarthy to QB3 somehow. All right. And now I'm going to read you, and again, You could argue with me and say I have to include the first 5 NFL starts for McCarthy. If you argue that, fair enough. But all I'm arguing is, just like with any rookie quarterback, you anticipate that they're getting better and better and better. So I went ahead and to compare equal games to Carson Wentz, I compared J.J. McCarthy's last 5 NFL starts. Okay? His last 5 NFL starts last season when he was mostly healthy, although he did leave the game against the Giants. And that includes possibly his worst game of the season when he played in Green Bay and it was just an atrocity. Okay, so I'm including that in this to compare to Carson Wentz. So in those 5 games for J.J. McCarthy, again, Carson Wentz completion percentage, 65.1%. J.J. McCarthy, 64.1%. Oh my God, wow. So much worse. Okay, touchdown to INT ratio. Carson Wentz, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. J.J. McCarthy, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. What do you make of that? Okay. Carson Wentz had 169 passing attempts. J.J. McCarthy had 103. And again, he missed the second half of the Giants game, and that's included in this because that was essentially his second to last start. Guess how many sacks J.J. McCarthy took in those last 5 NFL starts? 12 sacks, okay? It's not great. I'm not saying that was amazing pocket awareness, but Carson Wentz took 19, okay? And last but not least, McCarthy ran the ball for 71 yards and had 2 rushing touchdowns. Again, Wentz, 57 yards rushing, no touchdowns. So argue with me all day, practically identical, right? I mean, not identical because some numbers are off here and there, but touchdown INTs, 6 touchdowns, 5 INTs for Wentz, 5 touchdowns, 4 INTs for McCarthy, but McCarthy had 2 rushing touchdowns that Wentz didn't have. Completion percentage is off by 1%. And is a 23-year-old in his essentially rookie season making his 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th NFL start against Carson Wentz, who's played in the league 10 plus years. All right. And again, I included his 5th to last start for McCarthy, which was an atrocity. Okay. That stat line for that game was terrible. That game is when Minnesota, if you remember, lost 23-6 against Green Bay, and he went 12 for 19, 87 yards, and had 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. So that, you could argue, was his worst game of the year. Again, and the attempts are down because he missed the second half against the Giants, and you could practically say he missed the second half against Green Bay in the last week of the season when he left early in the third quarter. McCarthy did. So now, listen, to help me in my argument here, if I remove that start at Green Bay, and now I essentially just go and look at his last 4 starts, okay? Which again, if you are being logical, thinking this quarterback should be getting better the more reps he gets in an NFL environment, we're talking about his last 4 starts, okay? All wins, by the way, 4-0. The numbers for that, 64.3 completion percentage on 84 passing attempts, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, took 7 sacks in 4 starts. That's not bad. Again, 2 halves are missing. So that could help with completion percentage and touchdowns, or it could hurt. So, but that's just the reality. And chances are there would be more sacks because of it. And the 2 rushing touchdowns came in those last 4 starts. So again, even if I'm comparing 5 starts to 5 starts and include McCarthy's possibly worst game of the season, it's still pretty damn identical to Carson Wentz. So miss me with this conversation about the Vikings signing Wentz means they're moving off J.J. McCarthy. That just makes 0 sense. I'm tired of this narrative of people hating on J.J. McCarthy because he said that he has an alter ego when he plays football, like every other damn NFL football player, okay? He just said it out loud, I guess. All right? Now, there's other issues that I'm willing to visit. Obviously, him kind of, not respecting the coach essentially when he told him not to grit into the end zone and those things that he needs to mature on and things like that. I get that. I'm not arguing against that. He needs to respect that. But when we're talking about stats, projection, age, experience, no. If the Vikings right now had to pick J.J. McCarthy or Carson Wentz, they'd 100 out of 100 times pick JJ McCarthy just because of the mere existence of the fact that he hasn't even reached his peak. Okay? Maybe he has if now it's an atrocity, but you don't know that. And projections of the whole history of football tell you a 23-year-old that's had 10 NFL starts is still ascending and is not a finished product. So again, I just needed to address that because I've been seeing all these reports as soon as they sign Wentz that, oh, this is the end. I think they're going to trade him. No. Because also, if you think about it, I just read you off those numbers for Carson Wentz, right? Where is he when you hear those numbers, do you think, dang, that's a great backup quarterback? Who is going to be hurrying up to pick up the phone to call Carson Wentz and bring him in as their backup QB? A few teams, all right? He grew up a Vikings fan. Not that that matters too much, but, you know, he's got his family in Minnesota. He played there last year. He likes, you know, the people he's around. His career as a starter is, you know, it's not like someone's calling him up to be their starting quarterback. So for him, even if he is QB3, why not? If you like that room, that environment, maybe it's a Sam Darnold situation if he wants to, you know, and even still, I doubt there's a future for Carson Wentz where he is named at the start of the season the starter for any team. But, you know, it gives him a chance to be with Kevin O'Connell, you know, work on whatever he wants to work on. Maybe, you know, O'Connell puts in a good word for him in the next offseason and he gets a good backup opportunity or something behind a rookie quarterback, you know, similar to how the Raiders are going to draft Fernando Mendoza. You know, if that happens next offseason, maybe that whoever that gets the number one pick can convince themselves, let's get Carson Wentz in here. He'll start the season for us. And then we'll plug in our rookie quarterback. And that will happen with probably him being with Kevin O'Connell. Again, experience, you know, good word from O'Connell to friends in the business, however that works. I don't know. I don't see it. I'm just giving a light at the end of the tunnel because I think Carson Wentz's career as a starting commodity is over. Okay, and I think we could all pretty much agree on that. So again, I'm not here to entertain this stupid argument that JJ McCarthy has been given up on by the Minnesota Vikings because they signed Carson Wentz. No, that's just stupid. Okay. Now there'll be a quarterback competition with Kyler Murray. I will say the competition, I think, is on McCarthy to beat out Kyler Murray because obviously Murray's got that experience and everything. And I think for JJ McCarthy, being the backup to start the season isn't terrible, especially if he is changing up mechanics and working on footwork and those type of things that young quarterbacks do. It allows him some time to keep, you know, relearning or learning certain habits that he needs to work on. And then, God forbid, if there's an injury to Kyler or he comes in at any point in the season or the season doesn't start off well with Kyler Murray, now McCarthy gets a shot. And I also think if it's a tie in training camp, you're going to start Kyler Murray because it's easier to go from Kyler Murray to the kid than it is to give McCarthy that nod. And 4 games in, if you're 1-3, now everyone's calling for Kyler Murray, who in this scenario is the backup. And once you move on in that scenario from McCarthy to Kyler Murray, well, it's hard at that point. At that point, I would agree with you that the Vikings have given up on JJ McCarthy. But I just don't see it. I don't think it makes any logical sense. You look at the other rookie quarterbacks last year. I mean, everyone's talking about how Jackson Dart is the future for the New York Giants, and I like Jackson Dart. I think he's fine. I think he's a good quarterback. But damn, I mean, Jackson Dart had more games to play. He was healthy most of the time. But he played more than JJ McCarthy last year, and it's not like his numbers were jumping off the stat sheet. I mean, he had a game against Minnesota that the Vikings with JJ McCarthy won. Jackson Dart went 7 for 13 for 33 yards the whole game and an interception and took 5 sacks. If McCarthy had that stat line, people would be going crazy. So I just don't understand the hate on JJ McCarthy, okay? Again, like, you know, the number 1 pick, Cam Ward, super promising. Titans look like they got their QB1. Absolutely. You know what his completion percentage was for the season? 59.8. Okay? He took 55 sacks and he played all 17. So good for him. I'm just saying, like, we're acting like McCarthy is in year 7. Like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I think he just rubbed people off the wrong way. They didn't like that he's a Michigan guy, that he's won, whatever it is. But I'm not here to claim that JJ McCarthy is going to be the best quarterback of that draft class, but I'm here to at least give you some stats and point out some facts about why it would make zero sense for the Vikings to give up on JJ McCarthy because they re-signed Carson Wentz. That's the point. Okay. So like it or not, that's just the reality. And I don't know why people jump on these crazy narratives. So that's that. We'll talk some more football. We got to talk basketball because the NBA is heating up right now with playoff positioning. Playoffs are less than a month away. I can't wait for that. So we'll do some more pods this week. I'll be home. I'll be around. We get to chat. Remember to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll talk to you on the next one.